Danny was clearly not the only person in attendance of that night. Jesse is there with him, so is Jason. They were both there that night. He doesn't seem to have the same energy towards them. He is just trying to get the heat off him, and Jason has been still forgiving. He is willing to hold Jax to a different standard, but he is not as forgiving or accepting of Danny.
You see two people missing in that dinner, Luke and Zack. They were never part of that boys' locker room chart group. That's the basic core boys group.
Zack was just amazing with the energy that he brought, the truths that he spoke, and I really feel like he was number one guy in the group for that moment.
Hey guys, welcome to B-Side Reality. We are Panda.
And Estelle, and we are a couple who can't get enough of reality TV.
This channel is our space to dissect the drama, the chaos, and the wild moments
From our favorite shows, and hopefully yours too.
So grab a snack
Settle in,
and let's dive in.
We are talking about episode 10 of
The Valley.
Yes. We have Jesse picking up Jax from rehab as he stated that he was going to do the morning after Britt's party. He's taking him to Jax and Brittany's home.
Like bringing Jax back to the Gen Pop after his 30 days stretch of rehab.
Yeah, but the first stop is Brittany's home. I'm just going to call it Brittany's home.
To collect his items.
So it seems that most of his clothes were packed up. There's still a bunch of things that he wants to collect. There's certain things that he doesn't want to take away because he recognizes that that would be taking away from Cruz. But he also says that the house now needs to go on the market and that Brittany needs to downgrade to a smaller house. This home is 5 bedrooms.
7 baths.
7 bathrooms. And so he's like, for you and 1 child, all you really need is 3 bedrooms.
Interesting thing is, they did pack some furnitures though. We could see that. The movers guys, they were packing some of the furnitures as well.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's it includes that 20,000 couch. It seems like it's a lot of the stuff in his garage. I just feel like it was kind of crazy for him to say that he doesn't want to take anything from Brittany because it's taken away from Cruz, and then wants her to essentially get a different house. Like, if there's anything that's going to be a big disruptor in his life, it is, again, moving to a different home. So it just feels weird that he could say that so unaware of the contradiction.
He did took Brittany's computer though.
It seems like the biggest concern there is that I guess they have shared access to each other's accounts, and so Brittany just wants to make sure that he doesn't have access to her stuff anymore because, again, he's had an issue with just surveilling her inappropriately. So Jesse's reaction to all of this is he is cautioning against overreacting and indicating to anyone else that Jax has not actually changed from his rehab experience. And then we do learn from Jesse that he is hosting a party for Zack.
For Benji.
Yeah, a welcome home party for Benji.
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting and kind of came out of nowhere for me because it didn't seem like they were that close. But maybe with that small bit in the previous episode or in the previous episodes about the Botox to the scrotum.
Jesse's trying hard.
Yeah. So they might be becoming more friendly. We didn't really talk about it.
Sorry, ball sack Botox.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it the first time. The things that people in LA get up to, it's just so weird.
But we can see that Jesse feels that if he's going to cut people out, then he'll be sidelined in the show without anyone. Like, he'll have a smaller friend circle. So he's trying hard to be cordial with anyone and everyone.
That's true. He for sure is showing some kind of strategy for how he remains relevant in this show and this friend group.
I could only see Luke and Kristen hanging out with him, occasionally Danny, but he seriously need people in his corner if he wants to have a relevance in the show.
That's the thing about this Jax and Jesse scene too, is it seems like he is still trying to remain on close terms with Jax, but is also trying to call him out in small ways. So like this thing where he's cautioning Jax again, be careful with how you react because you've just gone through rehab and people expect to see that reflected in your behavior.
I think everyone in the show, be it Jason, be it Tom Schwartz, or be it Danny, they are giving Jax the right path to choose It's always on Jax to choose what he wants to do. Jax is the only bad influence in his life.
There are people who don't like Jax and just how far his behavior has gotten. They don't think that he deserves a platform, that he should be on a show. And so I wonder if this is a long-term strategy to be on good behavior because you could be out of this show. Just based on what we saw later in the episode, Jax is not always going to be receptive to this kind of advice from everyone.
They still bow down to King Jax for sure, because apart from Zack, I don't see anybody standing up to that level to Jax.
Yeah, so speaking of Zack, we do catch him in the next scene. He's on his way to LAX to pick up his boyfriend from
Very
the
excited.
airport, and they are prepping for a surprise welcome home party for him.
And it's kind of a big step for Zack, because as per him, it's one of a kind step that he has taken with anybody so seriously in his life. So it means something. It's special. It's not a regular thing that he does. Jasmine is organizing everything, taking care of the preparation and all.
Yeah.
But one thing noteworthy in all of this is Jesse paid everything for this party. Like, he basically didn't not just only offered his house, he basically spent the big bucks.
Yeah, and I think we learned this in the after show, right? I can look at it in two ways. He is so generous, awesome, and he has high quality taste, and so everything he paid for was super expensive. At the same time, we've seen earlier in this season how Michelle has gone in on him talking about how he's spending all of their money.
Yeah.
And is this another way that he is squandering money that is meant for, I don't know, Isabel, maybe her future? I don't know.
Maybe
But
Michelle, because I think they run a real estate business together. They were partners, I guess, before they got separated.
I think they did talk about how with the divorce, that would all be separated. We built this business together. We're splitting our clients evenly.
Yeah.
With Michelle, we catch her with Aaron at Aaron's house, and Michelle is saying some interesting things here. Isabel had asked about moving into Aaron's house because she really likes the grass.
The front yard, basically.
Yeah, and Aaron is questioning it, and whether it would be weird for Isabel to be living there, and Michelle is saying no, not if they have the intent of getting married one day or Aaron proposing to her.
Isn't that a weird question to ask?
That's how I feel. I don't think I got enthusiasm from Aaron.
Exactly.
I didn't feel it. I didn't see the intimacy, I guess.
I could see glitter in Michelle's eyes, but...
Yeah. And with what Isabel was saying, remember in an earlier episode, Isabel had apparently said, getting Jesse out of here and just marrying Aaron so that she could be happy or something along those lines. And she's 5 years old, but maybe in her small 5-year-old sentiments, she is able to express something like that. And Michelle is just paraphrasing to a very high degree.
Yeah, could be.
It's so hard to buy it.
Yes.
Michelle says her mom's condition, who has cancer, is getting worse. She would like Isabel to have a week with her grandma, but Jesse is not allowing it. It sounded horrible. I kind of held off because I figured we were going to get Jesse's side on this.
True.
So I held off on that, and so we'll follow up on that in a moment. But for now, that is the update from Michelle's side. Next, we have a little dinner party for Jax. Some of the first people to arrive are Jason and Danny, who obviously the night before or had a little
scuffle.
Yeah, and Jason and Danny are still not good. It seems that Danny had reached out through text to apologize. Jason says, yes, I saw that text, but I'm still upset.
And tonight is for Jack, so let's not talk about it and let's focus on Jack's homecoming only.
They're kind of just awkwardly waiting for everyone else to arrive and to be seated. Once they are seated, Jax talks about, I don't know, whatever. The usual spiel of rehab has really changed me, or just I'm thinking about myself, or
at this point it sounds like an official statement that he practiced.
Yeah, he's upset with what happened where his bar was rebranded into Brits Night, and it feels weird. And I wondered, is this really a big deal? If you love your wife in some way, this is your bar and she helped and poured a lot of energy into this, take it like it's a theme night. The theme night of today is Brits Bar. Does it have to be such a slap in the face? Why is it so offensive to you?
See, in my opinion, if I could see even a single grain of change in Jack's behavior and he's truly repenting and redeeming with subsequent follow-up actions, I would have felt sorry, because yes, absolutely these things can trigger someone who has a addiction issue and who has been going through all this toxic environment created by him or not. But I don't see a single redeeming act from him, a single honest thing from his side that he is going to take charge of his life and do good and amend his ways. I don't see that, so I don't feel sorry for him and I don't have any empathy for him at this point.
Yeah, so he is angry, he's upset, and he seems to be directing a lot of that energy towards Danny too, even though Danny was clearly not the only person in attendance of that night. Jesse is there with him, so is Jason. They were both there that night. He doesn't seem to have the same energy towards them. This really leads me to thinking that he is just trying to get the heat off him, and the conversation in general just turns towards Danny because Jax is asking the group about how the Santa Barbara trip went. His questions are very pointed. Did Dark Side Danny come out? Were there some kind of hidden bottles of tequila in the pantry? Obviously, Jax already knows what went down in Santa Barbara. He just wants to stir up that conflict because he knows it's fresh for everyone, or at least for Jason, who might want to address it, or that it's just going to cause some momentary distraction from him. In the confessional that he has, he talks about how he's just grateful that there is some heat off of him.
Plus, what I think is he is trying to remind everyone else is that he's still the guy who calls the shots.
Yeah.
Big D energy. He is still reminding everyone that boss is back.
I hate that because it's very clear in that moment in the way that everyone was reacting that they are yielding to Jax. Like whatever direction he wants to take this, they will play into it.
Yes.
And that's so frustrating because, and we'll get into this more later, but Jesse makes this remark that, oh, we don't call him Dark Side Danny anymore, we call him Pantry Danny, but Jason cuts in to say, no, I will still call you Dark Side Danny. Jax is like, let's talk about this. Jason, in his confessional, is talking about how Danny thinks that he is better than Jax, but at least I have driven Jax to a medical facility, and Danny doesn't seem willing to acknowledge that or be open to that.
Not even accepting that he has any kind of issue.
Yeah. And then Jax is also again adding to this, saying, like, I know I'm the last person to be saying this, but you do have an issue.
Wow, that's rich.
Yeah. Danny is just denying and saying, I don't have a problem. Jason says, you want to keep drinking. You don't want to stop drinking. So, of course, you want to make it like that. And then Danny is saying, I rarely even drink. And Jason says, an alcoholic doesn't mean that you have to drink every day. Jason is coming at him very heavily to be like, you are an alcoholic and you do have a problem and you need to confront that. But honestly, when I first heard him say, you don't need to be drinking every day to be an alcoholic, I think you need to have a heavy reliance on it, and that does imply that you are drinking all the time, but I will take anyone suggesting otherwise.
In my opinion, I don't think it's alcoholism. It's more like Danny has a lot of suppressed feelings that he generally don't let to come out and surface, and when he has a little bit of liquid energy, he doesn't have those filters anymore.
Yeah, that's why I take issue with this messaging, I guess, from Jason, because he's a lawyer. Like, if he is really practicing in court, I think they have a way of framing things that could be inaccurate, misleading, because there's technicalities and loopholes and ways to make it sound like I am correct. And so when I think of Jason framing it this way, outright using the word alcoholic, I don't think we're there yet. And just to be clear, it's not okay for Danny to be grabbing people's butts. As far as I know,
No,
that happened
not at all.
on one occasion. It's been squared away with the parties involved, Jasmine and Melissa, and otherwise, we are not getting any other indications of how alcohol is ruining his life. It does not seem like he's able to have great, emotionally intelligent conversations when he is drunk.
True.
But I do believe that they're blowing this out of proportion. Every time Jason has a moment and he's just like so self-righteous and wants to label it and be like, you are officially declared an alcoholic, it bothers me.
It's because Janet has said it and he has to prove it, right?
Yeah, and the other thing that bothers me is the irony of Jax being right next to Danny. Jason has been so forgiving. We kind of glossed over it in the last episode that, oh, Brittany is explaining how Jax has lied and forced the receptionist to lie about him going to the hospital, and and Jason and Janet get this update, right? Even though they were the ones who originally heard all the things about how Jax is going to be doing all these things to make it up to Brittany, he is lying and no one cares to hold him accountable. He is willing to hold Jax to a different standard, but he is not as forgiving or accepting of Dany. Okay, now on to Benji's surprise welcome party. They have a sign that basically says welcome home or something. It's clearly intended for Benji. And so even though all of the party guests are in the backyard and hidden away, the first thing that
all that effort
Benji
got spoiled in a moment's notice.
Yes. It's just so funny. Early on, Nia asks to speak to Janet just to clear everything up. However, Janet is defending her stance because she thinks that what Dany did is horrible and
she's basically correct to call it out.
yes. Again, Jasmine and Melissa handle that situation, so it's weird that Janet keeps bringing this up, even though it's already handled. When Nia pushes more about this, what Janet has to say is he butted into a conversation and he called me a snake. It might be mean, but that is not alcoholic behavior. She didn't outright say alcoholic, which I appreciate. But literally at the beach scene, Jason also called Jasmine a snake in the grass, right? If snake is so offensive, like how was that easily forgiven? And like they're still friends.
Basically, I don't see any intention from Janet's side that she's going to hold a white flag and bury the hatchet with Nia and Dany anytime soon. And the way Jason is escalating things, I think it's going to be a point of contention for a long time.
One thing that Nia says is that Dany only had 2 seltzers. I feel like that is not right, or I don't know, in my mind, I'm registering 3 drinks at least. So I think there is some inconsistency there. But overall, I do believe that her saying that you are intentionally trying to bring a bad light about him.
And also, you could see in the episode that Janet is referring that Nia knows things. Nia knows it very well, and she always tries to bring Dany out of such situations when she can sense that Dany is drunk and is losing control and composure, and she always pulls Dany out of such situations. So Janet is surprised that why Nia is not accepting what I'm saying, and she should be confiding with me that this is an issue in our marriage, and rather than she's becoming defensive about it and trying to get an apology from me. But in fact, in her understanding, Nia should accept it, and then Janet could suggest what to do with Dany, I say.
See, I think that if Janet wasn't so blatantly obvious about trying to use this as a moment to say you are an alcoholic, then I think Nia would be more open to it. Because again, we both acknowledge that he is not great when he is drinking because he gets really sloppy and he's messy.
Yeah.
But to, again, escalate that to alcoholic, we've already seen her do that. And so I don't want to give an inch when you're going to take a mile, okay?
Yeah. You need to create a safe space for friends to confide, and I don't see it here. It's outright public attack.
Yeah, for sure, Janet is a snake. I would be wary to say anything to her because she could definitely weaponize it against me.
Sure.
Nothing really happens here. They're not able to resolve anything. Janet storms off. Jax then arrives to the party. Brittany goes to the kitchen to avoid him. Kristen is, I think, the first person that Jax talks to. She really shows up for Brittany too. Jax is again vocalizing that he's not a fan of Britt's night, but Kristen is defending it. She doesn't want to hear anything about Brittany being a bad mother. He was in rehab and put them out of the house. Everything that we already know. I was watching Watch What Happens Live with Andy. Someone said, how can you have said what you did about Sandoval not leaving the house that he shares with Ariana and then turn around and do the same thing to your wife and your son? And he talks about how there was no real conversation about who takes the house. Brittany wanted to leave with Cruz, and that was that. It's so weak because like she's gone for months, switching from Airbnb to another. You can't in any moment before that be like, you take the Airbnb.
Exactly.
Or I'll take the Airbnb and you take the house. And I think Brittany might have even said that she had tried to go for that at some point, but he refused.
Okay. Jax had enough chance to do good and right.
Yeah.
Even after coming out of rehab, he hasn't yet reached out to see his son.
He goes and gets a haircut. He goes and gets Botox. He has that dinner with his friends. He just never reached out to Brittany.
With the intention to see Cruz.
Yeah. Zack has his own turn with Jax. This is my favorite scene of the night.
Mine too.
It starts out friendly. Zack is talking about how he is proud that Jax did commit to going to rehab. Jax talks about how it's 7 hours of therapy for 30 days straight. Zack asks, in between those 7 hours, did you listen to those doctors? Jax says yes, just writing and journaling. Zack asks, did these journaling include text messages to Brittany? Then Jax says that Brittany didn't take Cruz to see him in rehab at all. And Zack is like, it's because you uncovered those cameras in the house. We talked about this at some point of like, I don't understand how this rehab facility works. The fact that like Jax can leave in the middle of it. And you were like, no, that's not how it works. But Zack does clarify that's exactly what happened. In the middle of the treatment, he left to remove the camera covers to keep an eye on Brittany. Jax acknowledges that yes, that is true. One, this is my house. And then two, I want to know if other men are coming over because my son is there.
The way they approached each other and their body languages and the way they started this conversation, I could sense in the air that something is going to explode. You could see that the body language of both of them clearly semi passive aggressive kind of something is going to explode. I was like really excited to see how it unfolds, and it's pretty explosive.
Yeah. Jax tries to make a dig at Zack, saying that everyone needs some rehab. Zack is fine with it. He says he's already in therapy. And then Jax says this isn't a bash party for Jax, and if Zack continues, he's going to walk away. Zack isn't going to stop because he needs to hear from Jax that where Jax is right now in this situation is a result of his own actions. Like, he needs to hear that from him.
I think things get heated up more when Jax is more like, I don't want to be here. I just want to see Brittany and talk to her and leave. Zack was like, she doesn't want to talk to you. And Jax was like, my wife, do not interfere. It's my business. It's my personal life.
Yeah, so Zack was trying to point out the door, but Jax insists on talking to Brittany. But we know because Janet had a moment where she was saying, I thought you wanted to have a moment with Jax. And Brittany's like, no, not at all. Zack is doing his part because he already knows what Brittany wants. She's expressed herself and Zack is supporting that. When he does say that, like, it's none of your business, Zack just smiles. Jax is not liking this energy. And I feel like this is the closest that we've seen of anyone really, like, being able to stand up to Jax. And so this is what I really appreciate about this scene, because it does feel like Jax is kind of retreating, or that like he's not able to stand his ground as well. And so he's just like throwing out all these things.
Grabbing up anything he could.
Yes, like, one, you can't come to my bar anymore. And Zack is like, fine, but talk to your business partners because they're the ones who are letting me in.
Yeah, they do like me.
Jax leaves. Zack throws out, you act like it's your money in the bar. Jax says it is. And Zack says something else. I don't really get it, but I get the sentiment that like
You say it's your bar, but it's not your money. It's not your money that it's invested. Like, you got business partners who are taking care of it, and it's just basically your face and branding that is your contribution.
Yeah, and I don't really know the specifics of how the finances are, but they were married when all this was going down. And we saw the effort that Brittany put into decorating it and making it a homey, welcoming space that is worth spending time in. We cannot remove her from the bar. She's
What they meant at this point, I guess, is share-wise and, legally a business partner or not. Spending some money on this decoration and that decoration doesn't mean you own a share in the company.
I suppose, but I also feel like Jax has said it before. He kind of throws out these remarks that he's the one who pays for stuff, but then we'll hear from Brittany later saying, look, I also put money into that.
Yeah.
So Jax says, this is my show, this is my show, this is my show. And he leaves. Zack still has the last word and says, it hasn't been for the past 30 days.
Yes, and we still survive.
Jesse tries to stop Jax from leaving. Like, are you sure? Because you are supposed to be humble and on some kind of apology tour, but Jax is leaving. And if that's true, that he is out here trying to make amends, he has barely started that journey. Zack was the first person he could have made those amends to be like, I acknowledge the hurt and pain that I've put my wife through. Seeing this episode, it's so clear how Kristen and Zack are there for Brittany. Like, they are the two strong voices being vocal about what Brittany needs. If anyone's gonna care about how Jax proceeds with her in the future, like, they are there, they're watching.
And the two old cast members, Kristen and Tom, you could see that they are really clear about this, that Jax, you're our old friend and we care about you, but this is the correct thing on your face. face. You have wrong. We support Britney. We still care about your well-being, but this is wrong.
I was wondering about what is Zach's history with Jax, because we know that Zach's friendship with Brittany is old. It doesn't seem like he has the same love and care that maybe Kristen and Tom feel, where like when they do deliver certain things to Jax, they do it in a careful way.
Yes.
So he receives it better. But Zach is not like that. And again, like I'm here for it because
They were never friends. See, in that table, the homecoming dinner that they had, you see two people missing in that dinner, Luke and Zack. They were never part of that boys' locker room chart group. That's the basic core boys group.
Oh my god, that's such a good point. I was like, this is a pretty small group, but it didn't like register until you just said it. That's true.
Yes. They're never part of the group. See, everybody else is trying to be in a certain way around Jax. Like how Jax said that, oh, you're there because your wives were there. So basically you didn't have any option. So it's like King Jax saying, hey, you raised some slogans against me? How dare you? And okay, I understand. And I don't really care about Jack and Luke. I never liked Jack either because he's very volatile, very aggressive. His gestures, his movements. I never liked that person. They're basically never friends. So Zack has no allegiance towards Jax.
Kristen and Zach are a really close confidant for Brittany, and so it's hard to like someone when you know just how awful they can be to your best friend.
Even Tom Schwartz, every time he's there, he's trying to clarify that his actions are solely independent of him and has nothing to do with
Yeah.
Jax.
I
I think he learned his lesson big time from Sandoval. He doesn't want to be involved anything remotely associated with any kind of scandal. He clarified this to Brittany that just coincidence that Jax is arriving right after me and I came here on my own.
I love that too. I thought that was funny. I'm glad that you brought it up.
Whatever he's doing, it is 360. Whenever he has any kind of presence in the show, he's very conscious of his reputation right now.
Jax?
Tom Schwartz.
Yeah, he's not adding to anything, honestly.
And not stirring anything either.
Yeah. In the after shows, they talked about this. I don't think we talked about it in the podcast at all, but I think Jax was talking about potentially starting another bar and bringing Tom Schwartz into it. And Schwartz was like not really into it, how it's been a bad experience for him. And then this condo thing too, like none of this is a good look. And we'll get to this more later, but I think try as he might, if we have a third season, I wonder how well that's going to last.
I think his first-hand experience with how public reputation can act directly proportional to your business health, he is very conscious.
Yeah. The last thing that happens is Jax eventually leaves, and my favorite line from Zack is, everyone can unclench their buttholes. Jax Taylor has left.
That was so funny. Oh my god.
Zack was just amazing with the energy that he brought, the truths that he spoke, and I really feel like he was number one guy in the group for that moment.
Yeah.
It does seem like when Jax entered the house, someone commented it got quiet all of a sudden.
Everybody started to scramble and get into their respective corners.
Next scene. Jax is moving more of his stuff out of Brittany's house. Schwartz and Jason come over to help. Jax says that he still has not been able to see his son, and last night at the welcome home party, they were supposed to have the opportunity to talk face to face about it. Going back to what we were hearing in Vanderpump Rules, Ariana would talk about how I don't buy Sandoval really wants to say sorry to me because every time he does this, he wants to play it out on TV. If you really want to apologize to me and hash things out, you would do it regardless of whether or not there's a camera. Why does this need to happen on TV? Why can't he text her? Why can't he message her? I just have questions about how legit this is, how hard he really tried to reach out to Brittany. Because we learn later that he has been unblocked on Brittany's email or just whatever. And then throughout all of this moving, Brittany is texting Jason and Jason is communicating to Jax certain things like, hey, you need to log out of Brittany's account on the computer that you took, or you need to remove these cameras, you need to leave your key. And Jax says, not until I see Cruz. I appreciate that Jason and Schwartz are there to basically be like, that's not a good response. You are definitely coming off as hostile and more escalating things.
Absolutely. And I think during the Benji's homecoming party, I think we missed one thing that happened, and that's worth mentioning over here is Nia and Danny, they tried to talk to Jessie.
Yeah.
That Nia basically wants to understand Jessie's side of story because she already got Michelle's side. She wants their daughter to spend the few precious last moments with her grandmother because time is running out and she doesn't want their daughter to miss out on it. And Jesse basically said no, so she wants to understand his side of story. The way Jesse explained things, to some level, I resonate with that. She's too young, and we have not yet explained to her this concepts of life and death and this finiteness of life, and exposing her to such tragic incident in your family, what long-term effect it can have, we have no idea, and we should first take care of those things rather than blindly exposing her to such things. He very much support her to spend time with her grandmother, but it's all about this concept, and everything else is just logistics.
He also says that he didn't realize how sick Michelle's mom is, and I don't know how much of that to believe because it doesn't seem like they are speaking to each other, or we're just not seeing that, right?
Yes.
Maybe he doesn't. At the same time, it's stage 4 cancer. Is that sufficient information for him to know that, like, oh, things are bad, things are serious, and this is desperation here?
The mention of the word cancer is self-explanatory. That should give you enough idea to make a decision like this.
Yeah, and then like I said, I was holding out. I do feel the same way of like seeing someone who is terminally ill, seeing them in that state, I would feel the same caution. I'm not a parent though. In the confessional, Jesse talks about how he and Michelle are just not aligned in anything when it comes to Isabel. How many new parents, how many wannabe parents go into parenthood thinking these are the things that we need to be able to explain to our child as they're growing. Like there's the typical things of like, I don't know, maybe religion or how many kids. I don't know. There's things that go into family planning, but how detail oriented can you be throughout that process? There's certain things that you don't think about being prepared and being aligned until you are already in that moment.
How proactive you can be.
I think there's a limit. You can't prepare for everything. It's literally like everything that life can expose you to, how much of that and what is the best way. I don't believe that it's a simple black and white answer. I feel like this is something that maybe a psychologist, like some kind of expert, can weigh in on better than any of us. But I understand the struggle for both of them.
If you want to work it through, there are options. It's not a deadlock situation. It's not a unsolvable mystery for that matter. Like you can consult a child psychologist and ask her the right way to go about it, what information you want to divulge, what information you want to keep aside and not expose her to. There is science, like there is maybe a first time scenario for you, but people have faced it before, people have researched over it before, and you just need to find the right person to guide you through it. It is a reflection of their non-agreement and incompatibility that is still clouding their actions. It is the ripple effect leading to all this, and the only person who is at loss in this whole scenario is the kid.
I think it's an unfortunate situation. I can't comment on it anymore. Like there's a Jesse Michelle feud and people are taking sides, and I think Jesse can be controlling. Is this another way that he's taking control? I don't know. So yeah, we were talking about Jason and Schwartz advising Jax to not be so hostile. Jax talks about how he wants to get to a place where Schwartz is now with Katie. It was a relief to hear about that.
Yeah.
Everything with Vanderpump Rules, how the relationship started, how it progressed, the divorce, etc. I had so many feelings for them. I'm glad that they have mended things and that they get along. It sounds like they have shared custody still of the dogs, and I am happy for them. I don't follow them outside of, the show, and so I don't know how they got there, but Schwartz is telling him, like, you need to work hard at it. Like, you just need to give more or something.
And he basically gave a timeline, like, it might take 6 months, 1 year. So you have to be patient. It's a long way ahead, and it don't be all good and rosy in a week or two. You have to be patient and be on right path.
Going back to what Jesse was saying, that coming out of rehab, you need to be humble and going on an apology tour. I am not saying that, okay? You need to be so fucking remorseful, so apologetic, and genuine. We're not even seeing a little of that. There's just a lot of resentment. There's just a lot of like, what about me? What about me? I didn't get time with Cruz. It's
and
not...
the same attribute of blaming others. This is Britney's issue. This is Danny's issue. This is this fault. This is that fault.
Yeah, so I'm not as hopeful about Jax. I wasn't hopeful about Schwartz either, but who knows? Maybe Jax will surprise me. I don't know. Then Brittany comes back after everyone has kind of cleared out. She is seeing the garage, which seemed to house a lot of Jack's stuff. She gets tearful, and Janet is there to comfort her.
It was basically Jack's man cave.
Yeah, Brittany's talking about how Jax is telling everyone that she is the one who won't let him see Cruz. But she is saying that he hasn't reached out to her. I'm more inclined to believe Brittany because Jax is the one who has a history of lying.
I don't think any father who wants to meet his son cannot work out a way around it unless he has a restraining order. If you want to meet your son, I don't see what's stopping you.
I know. At this point, how many days has it been too? Janet talks about how she's very proud of Brittany for filing for divorce and that she thinks that this is Brittany finally putting herself and Cruz first and like abandoning hope that Jax will ever change the way that he treats her. This is what bothers me. Danny did his apology again to Jasmine and Melissa, the two people who matter in that incident. They squashed it. But Janet and Jason won't let that go. This thing happens. Janet has a clear moment in this confessional saying that Jax is never going to change, but she's also supporting him, more forgiving of him than she is of Danny. Like, that just gets under my skin so much. I hate the hypocrisy of it. I can't stand this. We then join Danny and Nia, who are at their home. They're talking about the same issue before of, do we need to have a baby first, our fourth and last baby, or do we need to find a house first? And they like hash out that they're gonna decide by the end of the year. Then Luke comes over to finalize their plans for a surprise proposal for Kristen. Danny and Nia are going to be helping him with that. They're planning a trip to Maui. The main thing that they need to do is be the organizers of the trip, so Kristen doesn't think anything would be related to Luke or her.
And Luke feels like it will be a tough gig to pull off, considering how Kristen's reptile brain works. Like, she can sense things, and so he wants to be sidelined in everything so that Kristen cannot sniff it out.
In Vanderpump Rules, like Sheena and Brock also getting engaged, I feel like that was so produced and that Sheena knew exactly what Brock was going to do and was even maybe guiding him in that whole decision. Part of me is like hoping that's not where it is. I really hope that Luke is able to pull off a surprise, and if it's not in fact a surprise, I hope that we can't tell, because that shit was cringy. But yeah, like I was thinking though, as Danny and Nia were kind of going through the usual conflict around baby and house, they would be really boring if Janet wasn't bringing this drama to them. I hate Janet and how she goes about it. I hate like how heavy it has to be, because when you're putting the capital A alcoholic on it, like this is larger than life, you know, this has implications. Definitely this is helping them to stand out a little bit more in the show, make things interesting, but I don't care for Janet.
She's basically replacing Sheena.
I have no idea. I mean, she and Sheena
You know
are
how
very close.
Sheena portrays, like, I heard this and I'm just saying truth. Like, I'm neutral. I'm Switzerland. She said that. Like, how eager is Sheena to distribute information without any, like, even if she has no role to play in that and no stakes involved.
Even in this season, she's doing that. Like, she's not even part of the cast, but she's
I
getting
understand what
in
you're
there.
saying.
She's
Yeah.
angling for it,
Yeah. People are calling, trying to referencing, using her as a witness.
Yeah, speaking of that, one of the final scenes that we have is Jax at his new condo, and Schwartz is, of course, his neighbor. We see some throwback pictures of Jax with Tom Schwartz. It is interesting to see and realize, like, how Jax has regressed to this point where he is not in a house. Like, similar to Sandoval, honestly. Like, they're taking huge steps back in their lives. Having Schwartz as a close neighbor, I think Schwartz is headed in the same direction. Like, he could be a main cast in this show, too, because he is in all of the after shows, and he is now a close neighbor. That seems to be Jax. It's calling him his best friend.
It's pretty much clear that Sheena and Schwartz are
And Lala.
slowly creeping into the show. Yeah, Lala too. Yeah.
So we will see. I wonder what kind of...
And yes, before you get over this section, I want to add that, did you see how excited Jax was? I haven't lived by myself in 10 years. I'm so excited for this. It's kind of a new beginning for him. Like, new avenue, new path away. It's like, wow.
It's disgusting. Then we see Jax serve. Jax initially thinks that this is about the podcast.
He really thought it was for the podcast, or he just said that to save his face in front of that guy?
I think he really thought it was a podcast. I don't think he thought that Brittany would have the guts to divorce him. It's really brief in this episode, but I feel like we really catch him in a real raw moment where he's processing that shit. Things are in motion. This divorce is happening. Maybe he thought that he would always have control over Brittany, that things would be worked out, but now it's gone. He's been served those divorce papers.
Tom went through the divorce papers, and as far as the history of divorce papers, this is basically a love letter. You don't have to worry about anything apart from one very important clause, that Brittany will have the full custody of their son.
Full legal custody, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Jax doesn't know what that means. He's like, I need a bulletin list on what that means. Jax ends the episode talking about how these are no longer the best days of our lives, which is a throwback to Vanderpump Rules and like the opening theme song. It's like cheeky, but it's also like, it is truly the end of some kind of era, right?
Yes.
Anyways, I am excited for the next episode. It seems that Janet's going to have a moment of being irresponsible with alcohol, and I'm eager for someone to blow that out of proportion and to just kind of give her a little taste of her own medicine.
And some spicy drama in the islands of Hawaii.
Yes. Looking forward to Kristen and Luke proposal as well. Yeah. So leave a comment, and even if you need to use an alias or a burner account, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, definitely. And we will reply to all your comments. Please do write to us.
If you are Frank Dramont, we're open to hearing from you too.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of B-Side Reality.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We had a blast breaking it all down.
If you enjoyed the convo, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you soon with a brand new episode. Bye.
Bye.